Hey, today we're going to do Gym Power, but I just wanted to start off. In the last video, I showed you this new Copper visualizer, and it's been really cool. I've been trying out different games with it, and just amazed by how good the Copper list is in Kid Chaos. If you look over here, it's changing the color and in the foreground and the background, but moves dynamically. So watch this when you move and when you go up. Look at that. We fly through. It changes like crazy, goes up and down, uh, doing doing all sorts of things. So you can just really visualize it well here. So I just wanted to show that off. Okay, and now here's the copper list for Jim Power from 1992, coded by Fernando Velez, who rest in peace, who unfortunately passed away. But it was a real showcase for the Amiga, this game, and it came out on a lot of other systems afterwards, but I think this is the best one. The one on the Super Nintendo and stuff was they tried this 3D effect that didn't really work well. I've never tried it with the glasses, so maybe it worked that way. But I really like the look of the Amiga one, and it's got a lot of tricks. And look at this copper list; it's very extensive. So it's doing so many things. It's changing the sprites every 16 pixels. The white here is the move sprite. So that's happening. We'll break down all the sprites and everything in a second. I just wanted to show you this copper list. It's not dynamic like Kid Chaos, like it stays the same because it's not an eight-way scroller. But so you start out over here. The green ones are the color changes. So this is doing the mountains and everything. These colors over here, and then you've got the sprite colors that are changing on the way down the screen. And then what do you got here? I think more, yeah, more sprite colors, and there's also some of the copper colors that are changing at the vertical position. So wait for V post, so wait for vertical position, and then it changes it. There's even the colors changing up here for the one up. You can see the gradient. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this game, and they really broke some ground. Okay, so there's a lot of sprite work. If we take out the sprites, bang, look at that. A lot of stuff disappears, and we're left with some copper colors back here, some copper lines, and it's in dual playfield. So let's break that down. If we go bit plane 0, 2, and 4, and we've got the foreground right here, and we've got the bobs. And then if you go to bit plane 1, 3, and 5, then you've got the background. But you'd wonder with both of them, with 0, 2, and 4, and with 1, 3, and 5, down here doesn't look right. So what's going on? So it turns out that right here from the ground and down, that the copper is creating a new screen. So all this area here isn't even part of the screen. It's its own 16 color screen. So if you go 0, 2, 3, and 4, those 16 colors are unique to there. And then you've got to add bitplane 4 and 5 to get everything. So that is dual playfield, all the top of the screen, all the way down to the ground. And then from the ground down, it's just a different 16 color screen because you never interact with this. You're just always, put the sprites back on. You're always walking on top of it. So this entire thing is a different screen. Okay, so we'll take the sprites off and go one by one. So your sprite 0, you've got half of Jim, but then what's going on here? That's Amiga sprites are supposed to be 16 pixels wide, but look at all that. That's just from one sprite channel. So it looks like they've multiplexed these sprites right here. So we put the copper visualizer back on, and you can see, well, first of all, these purple ones are stopping the ground, turning the ground into a new area. The purple bit plane pointer copper moves, create this new 16 color screen down here. And then you see the white is moving these sprites. So not only is it doing up top but it's also doing it down here. So it moves these sprites over. So yeah, there's no end to the trickery. So we'll take the visualizer off and go to sprite number 1. And that was the other half of Jim and the other half of those to give them 15 colors. And then the next one, the other half, and then half of the shot, and then the 15 colors. And then sprite 4 shows the shot down here, but if you press the button, it is also a moving shot. And then sprite 5 doesn't look like anything changed, but it's another moving shot. So you can have 2 on screen at once. Right here, if you just have sprite 4 on, and I'm pressing, it's only 1 on the screen. But if you put sprite 5, then look, you can do 2 shots. And so that's the maximum on screen at one time, is 2 shots. Okay, now the fun starts. Sprite 6, boom. We've got all of these. So then they're moved again by the copper visualizer. If you look, you see how they surround it. So it takes it here and then it moves the sprite over to here and then here and here. And then if you go take this visualizer back off and then you go sprite 7, then you've got that. And if you visualize again, so it fills in everything across the entire screen. And then these copper lines that are going across, those fill in the black spots that were left. And if we walk along the ground, you can see the brown strips that are just sprites, that are just sprite 6 and 7, because the Amiga can have sprites that go up the entire screen, infinite height. Okay, so let's try playing for a second with the glitter visualizer on. So if we click that, and you can see the edge tiles come in, and the edge tiles here, and then the enemies, whoop, and the jewels. So if you hold the button down, then you get this big super weapon. So how's that done? If you go to sprite 4 and just put that on, nothing else, hold down the button, there it is. There's half of it, 3-color sprite right across the screen. And then sprite 5 is the other half. So hold that down and you get that. Okay, this is above my pay grade, but if you take just half and then you put the copper visualizer on and you play it, and look at that, it adheres perfectly to that 16 pixel block. And then if you put the other sprite and hold it down, then it adheres to the other side. Okay, well now we'll check out the boss in this next level. And I should have put invincibility on, but I didn't. Let me just pause it here. And if we take all the bit planes off, you just want to see the sprites. Again, sprite 6 and 7, I think would do it. Sprite 6, repeated. Sprite 7 fills it all in. And the copper visualizer, same as before, except you got lots of color changes here. And the real interesting thing is it is still in dual playfield, even though the background is just sprites. So watch this. If you take the sprites all off and just go bit plane 0, 2, and 4, look at that. Half of the boss is just a playfield. It's just one of the dual playfields. So this boss is not blitted. As you see, it's just the middle part is blitted. Let's see if I put it all back. It's just this middle part that's blitted. If I take that off and then go back to 0, 2, and 4, then yeah. So that is the trick here. So it doesn't have to blit this huge thing. So it's quick enough to do it because it is just the screen that is moving around. It's just you're moving the entire playfield around. So if you switch it to 1, 3, and 5, then the other playfield is the top part of the boss. So one playfield is the top part, the other playfield is the bottom part, and then they just blit the in-between area. So yeah, this is a real revelation. So now we're at the first horizontal Shmup level, which they looked a lot different on the console versions. But yeah, let's look at this playing. And if I put on the blitter visualizer, you'll see that all that is being blitted are the enemies. Let's check out the sprites. So we'll take the bit planes off and sprites. Now here, for the background, it is only the top part. So it should be 6 and 7 again. Yep, 6 and 7. But what about the rest of the screen? Well, if we take all these sprites off and go 0, 2, and 4, then you've got the foreground. So let's play that. It's just the foreground. And if we take them off again and go 1, 3, and 5, then you get the background. This is interesting when you switch over to just the boss kind of battle right here. And you've got the big ship that you've got to take on. So what's going on here? It looks like there's no foreground, but this big ship, let's blitter visualize it. Look at that. Only the flames and only the spikes on this part are being blit. So how is the ship itself getting on here? Well, again, it did the same trick as before. So if we take it off and go 0, 2, and 4, then the ship is all one playfield. That's just the one playfield, so that screen is moving. And then if you switch it back to everything and then take it off and go 1, 3, and 5, then you just have the background. So one playfield is the background, and instead of having a foreground now with scenery, the whole foreground is just the ship. We've got a new shot in this level that goes forward and backwards. So how does that work? Let's take a look. If we take off all the bit planes and all the sprites, it's usually 4 and 5. So 4, we can shoot 1 per screen. And then if we put sprite 5 on, we can shoot 2 per screen. But the crazy thing here is if I pause it, that you can see that it's, they're 16 pixels wide, 3 colors, but they go both ways, right? So how's that happen? So I think what they're doing here is that they spawn, one on top of another, but then this one scrolls a different direction. I think that might be the trick here. Let me know if I'm wrong. And let's look at the setup of the levels. So we'll take the bit planes and the sprites off. So the important background ones of 6 and 7. So we've got 6 repeating and then 7. Now, what's interesting here is that these ones repeat across the screen, but they're showing off again because this one with the moon has different sprite data. So yeah, it has these 2 halves. So you take that one off and just have, this half, and you take that off and the other half. So they've always got a new trick up their sleeve. So the bit planes are done 0, 2, and 4. We've got the foreground. And then if we do 1, 3, and 5, again, we've got the background. And then we've also got these little pegs here at the front. And these wood posts, if you put all the bit planes on and put your sprites on, it looks like they're in the very front foreground, right? But if you take them off and go back to where we were, 1, 3, and 5, you'll see that they're actually in the background. And then they just split it here with the copper visualizer, and they change the priority. So this here, instead of being in the background, is in the foreground. And the separate screen of the ground is just 16 color 4-bit plane separate area again. I always really like the look of this level. And what do they do here? Let's see if we pause it and we take off all the bit planes. Here are the sprites. Let's take off the sprites too, and you got a bit of a copper sky. And let's see the fun sprites 6 and 7. So 6 and 7. But the cool part is when they are moving. So let's unpause it. And look at that. It's got a vertical parallax effect. But the way it's done is actually, if you just do one sprite and play, it looks like it's just an animation. So it gives the illusion that it is another layer there, but it looks like it's just a sprite animation. Very, very clever. And then for the big boss, if you do a blitter visualizer, again, it's just his little areas here that are being blit and not the whole big part. So if you take the bit planes, we'll take the sprites off and take the bit planes off, take the blitter visualizer off and go 0, 2, 4, and there he is. This guy is just one playfield, and they just move the screen around, so he's just a map. And the other 1, 3, and 5 are this area. And then when you combine it all together with the sprites, then you got this beautiful concoction. And as we're approaching the end, I didn't want to forget to mention that this is all done 50 frames per second. This game keeps 50 frames per second, and the amazing thing about it is that it's 320 by 256. So the entire screen, which is quite rare, especially the 256 part, So to do dual play field and to have all these sprite backgrounds and to have a 16 color other screen down here and all the copper changes and everything, and to do it at 320 by 256 is like, wow. Now for the big final boss. Let's see the blitter visualizer on him. And look at that. These two huge blips. And then the fireballs are different blips. And what else is going on? Let's pause it and see. So if we pause it and we take off all the bit planes, we can see that the sprite, let's see, 6 and 7. So are just this top part of the screen. And let's turn those off and check out 0, 2, and 4. So the boss, again, is his own whole play field. And if we switch to the other one, 0, 1, 3, and 5, then we turn the blitter visualizer off, and we've got this cool flame effect. Let's see if we can figure out how this is done. So I'll put on the copper visualizer, and what do we got here? All the yellow ones are move other. So bitplane playfield horizontal scroll values. So it's changing the horizontal scroll values in all these areas in the copper, also changing the colors, the green. And then down here, again, it's BBL Con 1 bitplane playfield horizontal scroll values. And then over here, it's bitplane modulo for the even planes. I'm not a coder myself, but yeah, that's how you do it with the horizontal scroll values and the bitplane modulo. So very interesting. And then after the flame, it's changing the bitplane pointers again and some of the palette for this area. And then it changes the bitplane pointers and the palette for this separate area that's not interacted with down here. So wow, that was a lot, but what a game, eh? 1992, and just for fun, because this effect is cool, I think you can kind of mess with it a bit. If you take off the scroll up here, then it does that. And then you can also try the copper block and check that out. Yeah, you can get half of it to do it. And then if you stay up here, they stay straight and move back and forth when you move it. So who knows what's going on under there? It's a lot of magic. So a very cool game. Thank you guys for checking it out with me, and hope to see you soon for the next one.